Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's write some more Leetcode today. Today we are solving maximum value of an order triplet 2. If you haven't noticed, this problem is exactly the same as the problem I posted yesterday. The only difference are the constraints. So I would recommend watching yesterday's video first, because over there I will go over the problem description and how I did these three approaches. But anyways, in today's problem, the constraints of the length of nums is larger, which means that you will need a faster time to solve today's problem. So if you use approach 1 from yesterday to solve today's problem, it will not work on today's, but it will work on yesterday's. However, if you use approach 2 and approach 3, which I believe was O of n squared time and O of n time, it will still work on today's problem. But in yesterday's approach 3, even though it was O of n time, it was O of n space, but there's actually a way to solve it in O of n time and use O of 1 space. So I guess I can use today's video to go over that method. So in yesterday's optimal approach in terms of time, we used the prefix and suffix array, which we call left max and right max. That would still work for today's problem, but if we are feeling extra and we want to save some space, we can actually just use a variable to keep track of the max result, another variable to keep track of the maximum value of I, which is the number on the left, and the maximum value of I minus j, which we will call it the difference. We only need to keep track of that. And initially, we want to set result to 0. We want to set I to the value at 0, index 0, and we want to set difference to the value of index 0 minus the value at index 1, which would be -9 for this example. And at each iteration, we want to calculate the difference times the number we are at, and we will start at the second index all the way to the end. And if it is larger than the current result, then we will update it. And afterwards, we will update I if necessary, if we can have a larger value of I, and we will also update difference if we can find a larger difference. So I'll walk through this example real quick and show you guys how it's done. So first we start at index 2, we initialize these variables, and then we calculate -9 times 3 is less than 0, so we don't update result, but we need to see if we can update I or difference. And how we will do that is we want to check for I if nums of k minus 1 happens to be greater than what I currently has, then we update I. And after that, we will check if I minus nums of k happens to be greater than the current difference. And if that's true, then we update it too. So for this example, it does, because nums of k minus 1 is 10 and 10 minus 3 equal to 7. So we can update the difference, and now we can go to the next iteration. So first we see that 7, the difference times 4 equal to 28. So we can update the result, and we don't see there is a need of updating I because the next I is 3, is not larger, and for difference 10 minus 4 is not larger than 7, so we can keep going. Now at the last iteration, 7 times 19 is equal to 133, and that is the max, and now we are at the end of the array, so we can return 133 as our result. And the time complexity would be O of n because we need to iterate through the array once, and the space complexity would be O of 1 because we are not using any extra space. So now let's get to the coding part. So first we can initialize the result to 0, and we will initialize I to nums at 0, and we will initialize the difference to nums of 0 minus nums of 1. So it will be the first element minus the second element in the array. And now we can loop through k from 2 to the end, so 2 to length of nums. And first we want to see if we can update the result, so it will be the max of result or difference times nums of k. And then now we can check if we can update I. So it will the max of I will either be the current I or nums of k minus 1. And then the max difference will either be difference or I minus nums of k. And after looping through, we can return result. Let's see if it works. Okay, perfect. Hope this was helpful. Thank you all for watching. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave it down in the comment section, and I hope to see you all again soon.